Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Now, this is a roll call vote also. So, roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we have presentations. We have a number of presentations here. Is Marie Vang here? All right, we will present the Hmong American veterans a little later on the presentations here. Proclamation to the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce recognizing April 30th through May 6th as Small Business Week. Okay, I think Kristen Perry. Okay. Bring the whole group up. Good. All right. I'll do these. You can stand up there. County of Yuba Board of Supervisors proclamation recognizing Small Business Week, April 30th to May 6th, 2023. Whereas Yuba County recognizes National Small Business Week and values dedication and entrepreneurial spirit of small businesses that keep the Yuba-Sutter regions economically growing stronger, and whereas in the collaborative mission of the county, working in partnership with the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce and other organizations to help our businesses grow and thrive, and whereas Yuba County appreciates the support provided to our small businesses by the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, and whereas during the week of April 30th to May 6th, 2023, the Small Business Administration and the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce are celebrating Small Business Week. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed that Yuba County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Small Business Week in Yuba County, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements made by small business, both locally and nationally. All right. There you go. We'll give that to you. If you'd like to say a few words.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us. I am Kristen Perry, Executive Director of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. I brought some friends with me here that are local business owners in the area. You want to introduce yourself? So my name is Justine Gill. I'm with Yuba-Sutter Training Zone. I'm Stephanie Fletch, and I own So Sawdust.
I'm Damona Kirkpatrick, and I own Diggs on D Street.
I'm John Wim, and I am with the Marysville Chinese community.
Thank you so much.
Is to Motorcycle Awareness Month. And I think I'm the first person you've ever seen up here who's been hit by a motorcycle and on a motorcycle. So, anybody, do we have a Sky Caton here? Okay. Well, we won't do this one then. Do we have a Marie Vang here? We don't. We do? Who? I'm sorry. All right, Marie, this is the proclamation for the Hmong American Veteran Memorial Day. All right, let's step that up here. This before. County of Yuba Board of Supervisors proclamation. Hmong American Veterans Day Memorial. Whereas beginning in 1960, the United States Central Intelligence Agency recruited thousands of Hmongs to fight against Communist Pathet Lao and the North Vietnamese Army regulars in Laos. During the Vietnam War from 1961 to 75, Hmong soldiers played a crucial role in supporting the United States military effort, serving alongside American soldiers and providing vital intelligence, communications, and combat support. And whereas Hmong soldiers demonstrated remarkable bravery and dedication, risking their lives to defend democracy and freedom, and many made the ultimate sacrifice in service for our country. And whereas although Hmong soldiers died at 10 times the rate of American soldiers in the Vietnam War, due to the covert nature of American war effort in Laos, the sacrifices and service of the Hmong and Lao veterans are still largely untold. And whereas thousands of Hmong soldiers' families were evacuated to the United States Air Base in Thailand in order to escape vengeance by communists of Laos and Vietnam, and after the conclusion of the war, thousands of Hmong soldiers were victims of retribution and atrocities by the Pathet Lao and the North Vietnamese, causing hundreds of thousands of Hmong to flee to neighboring Thailand as refugees. And whereas approximately 50,000 Hmong veterans reside in the United States and 150,000 Hmong and Laotian-born children have graduated from the United States schools, however, little is known or taught about the Hmong history or their honorable service and contributions to the United States. And whereas the County of Yuba expresses its gratitude to the Hmong American community for their immeasurable contribution and encourages all residents to take a moment to remember and honor the Hmong soldiers and veterans who have given their lives in service for our country so that their sacrifices are never forgotten. Now, therefore, the Yuba County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes May 15, 2023 as Hmong American Veterans Memorial Day, a special time to promote, publicize, and increase awareness of the importance of the Hmong in United States history, and to commemorate and reaffirm our commitment to respect and honor these men, women, and children who served the United States with loyalty. And for those who fought for freedom, freedom has a special taste the protected will never know. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Marysville, and I want to express my deep appreciation and gratitude for your adoption of the proclamation honoring May 15th as Hmong American Veterans Memorial Day. This proclamation serves as a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made by this Hmong community in support of the United States military during one of the most challenging times in our nation's history. Your recognition of these contributions helps to ensure that the service and sacrifices of Hmong soldiers are never forgotten. This proclamation represents a significant step in acknowledging and celebrating the many achievements of Hmong soldiers. It also serves as an important reminder of the shared values and principles that unite us all as Americans. We must always remember the sacrifices that were made in the service of our country and honor those who put themselves in harm's way to defend our freedom. Today, we still have, in the Yuba-Sutter County area, we have over 100 Hmong vets that served during this time. And I wanted to say a few words to our fellow Hmong vets that are here today, if I may. I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude and admiration of your incredible commitment and loyalty during the Vietnam War. Your bravery and sacrifices have not gone unnoticed, and your contributions to the war effort has been immeasurable. Your unwavering dedication and bravery in the face of adversity were truly remarkable. You fought alongside American soldiers, putting your lives on the line to help defend freedom and democracy. The sacrifices you have made will never be forgotten.
August of 66 to April of 68. Went faster than expected. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. All right. I think the fourth presentation is receive the quarterly update on Health and Human Services Department. Your choice.
Morning, Chair and members of the board. I probably need a little help getting the file up here. Thank you. My name is John Corneal, Assistant Director with the Health and Human Services Department, and I am here to present the May quarterly update for Health and Human Services. So the report's laid out the same as it was last time. We've got everything broken up into the different programmatic areas, but with some new updates and information here for you. So we will start with the Public Assistance Program area. There's the Deputy Director, Jamie Bartolome, and the 112 employees that work in those programs. And the first thing we wanted to highlight is this CDSS CalFresh Operations Roundtable. This just happened not too long ago. It was a 2-day event that CDSS put on for all of the 58 counties across California, and representatives of CDSS were there as well. And it covered all things CalFresh, best practices for administering the program, timeliness, running a call center effectively, all these different various breakout sessions. Yuba County was invited to lead a session, Alex Rodriguez and Liz Corneal, to lead a session on the cyber attack that we went through and how we were able to ensure a continuation of services for that. So we were able to continue to provide CalFresh, even though we unfortunately were the victims of a cyber attack a couple of years ago at this point, and continue with many other services as well. And they asked us to provide our practices and preparedness for how we were able to do that. So Alex and Liz did a great job, and both at the presentation and actually during the cyber attack. Next, we wanted to highlight our ongoing partnership with Yuba College in the Welfare to Work program. When clients enter the Welfare to Work program, there's several phases to it, but one of them is an assessment. And during that assessment, there may be a myriad of things uncovered, but one of them could be learning disabilities. Might be one of the reasons that one of the barriers that the client has to becoming gainfully employed. So when that's discovered, the DSPS office at Yuba College partners with us and those clients, and they're able to provide learning disability assessments, intakes, cognitive testing, and then really provide the support needed to those clients to ensure their success in the Welfare to Work program. So that's been a long-standing partnership we've had, and it provides a great service to all the residents of Yuba County. Then we wanted to also highlight the Youth for Change home visiting program. This is another great service provided to the residents of Yuba County. So this program focuses on education for prenatal, infant, and toddlers, and care of kids those ages, and child developmental screening. But the neat thing about this program is that the home visiting staff actually go out to the client's house and work with them in their environment, to really be with them in their environment and help them overcome any barriers they may have, and teach them where they're at. So that's been a great program and service for the community, but we've also recently added on this Laptops for Life component. That was a program developed by CDSS and Cell Ed, I think is the vendor name. And that provides laptops to these home visiting participants that are in the CalWorks program, gets them a laptop, helps them with digital literacy, and gives them that technological foundation to help ensure their success in the program and just with their children and in life in general. So that's another great component that's been added on recently. So now we are on to social services. There's Deputy Director Tony Gordon and the 60 employees that work in that area. And the first thing that we wanted to highlight here is Child Abuse Prevention Month, which just wrapped up in April. And there was a Wear Blue campaign, Wear Blue on Wednesday, as you can see that great photo there of Tony and some of the other CAPS staff all blued out there showing their support to help end child abuse. And then a really, I thought, a pretty innovative idea to help raise campaign awareness in the community. The communication and engagement team developed these Stop Child Abuse stickers and then partnered with these different coffee shops and donut shops out in the community. And on Wednesdays, anybody got a coffee or a box of donuts had this sticker on there, and just a little way to help inject that awareness of this campaign into the community. So at this point too, I also want to mention now that the current month, Awareness Month, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health has provided our CAO with some pins for all of you guys. So he'll be able to pass those out. Oh, you already got them. All right, look at that. So next I am going to highlight the outreach for the in-home supportive services program that this program area has been doing up in the town of Challenge. So at HHS, we've had a long-standing relationship with Kathy LeBlanc, and she's been really good at communicating the unique needs of the residents of those rural areas, Challenge specifically. So it was apparent to us that there are residents in Challenge that need to receive the IHSS program, but there aren't residents up there to provide that program. And the residents that live in other areas don't want to drive up there. And so there's this unmet need up there. So representatives from CAPS, they met with Kathy and tried to figure out, what's going on? How can we fix this situation? And the key thing that was identified was a barrier to transportation. There's a lot of back and forth coming down to the office here, going all the way back up to Challenge just to get enrolled and registered to be a provider in that program. So for a little while at least, our CAPS division has been working with the Family Resource Center up in Challenge, and Challenge, the FRC up in Challenge now has Wi-Fi, internet connection. We've made most of the application and enrollment process available to be completed online. So now we're able to just go up to the Family Resource Center in Challenge, complete that application and enrollment process online with the residents there. And we've effectively removed one of the key barriers to having residents up there be able to provide IHSS services. So that outreach effort is kind of just beginning at this point, but we're excited to see what the results of that is going to be in the near future. And then we've got some data here for the Child and Adult Protective Services programs, referrals and applications and reassessments. The smallest bars over here on the left are for January, February, and March. And those are Child Protective Services referrals. And just kind of to give you an idea of how many happen roughly each month. So between, slightly under 250 every month for Child Protective Services referrals. Those could be anything from neglect to abuse, anything that would fall under the referral category for Child Protective Services. Then these bars over here are for Adult Protective Services, and similar to CPS, but for adults. Then we have IHSS applications, and you can very nearly overlay that bar graph right over the top of the APS referrals. It's a similar overlapping demographic there. Those are applications for the in-home supportive services program, and then reassessments, those clients that have a case, and we've reviewed that case and reassessed it for our to meet our regulatory requirements. And here we are at Public Health. There's Deputy Director Melissa Shaw and our Bi-County Health Officer, Dr. Liu, and the 48 employees that work in that program. And the first thing we want to highlight here is the Community Health Improvement Plan process. And I think that we've done a lot of communication about that to the board. And it's been a very communicative process. There have been a lot of stakeholder meetings, a ton of key informant involvement. I know that during the community health assessment phase, Supervisor Bradford and I were at a meeting together. So there's been a lot of opportunity for feedback from the community to make sure that we have everybody's point of view considered here. We're now in the Community Health Improvement Plan phase. And as a result of those meetings, and there are plenty more meetings to come, but the top 3 categories that the Public Health Department is going to focus on in Yuba County are healthcare access, mental health access, and built communities. So there will be more meetings as part of the CHIP process. The specific goals within each of these categories and the metrics that are going to define the measurements to determine if we've been effective at meeting these goals. They haven't quite been defined all the way yet, but these are the 3 overarching categories for the CHIP right now. And here we are for department updates. There's me and the 50 employees that I am very fortunate to work with. And we wanted to highlight a few events that we had at our office. We had the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce come through for a visit for about half of their day, I think, was at our office at Health and Human Services. They had what sounded like a whirlwind of a day, very informative. I think they came to HHS on the Yuba County side and HHS over in Sutter County and went to the hospital, and sounded very, very busy, but also a really good way to understand how all those different organizations connect and interact together. And here's a few pictures of the reception that we held for them. We've got some infographics and little stations set up about the different divisions within our department, and we held a couple of presentations. You can see the projector screen dropped down back there, and had some snacks, and our communication and engagement team really did a great job of putting this all together and welcoming them. And then here we have our, this is at the Yuba County Library. We've got an oral health presentation going on here, and this was Kynock Elementary School that was there for a field trip. I don't know what the question was here, but everybody knows the answer is 2, which is good to see. Everybody's tracking with Keith up there and the puppet. Puppets always keep my attention too. So that they're very good at getting out there in the community and spreading the public health information. And then here is our, here's Fode and Yuba from the Gambia. We were fortunate to be able to welcome them over to the HHS department as well. We had a great turnout. Did a similar kind of reception as we did with the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. We had a lot of staff turn out to meet with them, and had a lot of information, a lot of different little pockets of information to explain what our department does, and hopefully be able to help inform them as to how they might have a health and human services portion of their government over in the Gambia. And then finally, just wanted to do a little snippet of a couple of the social media campaigns that our communication and engagement team is consistently working on. This is a very, very small slice of what they've done. They're really active on social media, and put out pretty high quality content. So this is more more campaigns about Child Abuse Prevention Month, which just wrapped up in April. This one has a little calendar of where the child abuse prevention flag would be flying, and then an event here on the 1st of April to ring alarms and make noise at noon for awareness about this campaign. But they consistently do a good job with social media and are very good at managing our HHS messages on that platform. So that is our last page of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Any questions from the board?
On your slide with healthcare access and mental health access, you had built communities. What do built communities mean exactly?
That is, I think if Dr. Liu were here, she could give you the specific definition, but that is things like infrastructure and parks. And when I hear the term built communities, I immediately think of like CDSA. You know, we're talking about how to, the goal of this project is to make, is for the community health improvement plan. How are we going to improve the health of the community? And one of the things that, or one of the main topics that has risen to the top here is basically the physical environment of Yuba County as part of that.
So when we talk about mental health, there's a certain funding source we use for that. When we talk about healthcare access, people get healthcare access through obviously the emergency room, but the healthcare access there you're wanting more of is, I assume, primary physicians, specialist referrals, that sort of thing. When we talk about the funding source for built communities, what would, I guess, we're not taking healthcare dollars and building parks with that. So how does that flow in together?
I don't know if we've defined that yet. I don't know if our deputy director, Melissa Shaw, has any other information, but I think we're at the beginning of that process right now.
Then the big boss sent.
I don't think so.
Good morning, Jennifer Vasquez, Health and Human Services Director. So I'll kind of add a little bit onto that. Like John said, the actual goals and projects that we'll be working on are still being defined, but things around built communities are like sidewalks, bike routes, playground equipment, walking paths in parks. There are grant opportunities that we may work collectively with CDSA or other departments in the counties to prioritize this type of work and focus on how we can get different opportunities for, I think, really grants. So there are like safe routes to school. So I know Dan, several times, you know, he's like a master. I don't know if he's here today around all of the grant work that he does, but we often provide letters of support and data and information to support the projects that he's trying to work on.
Okay, so would it be opening up new avenues of funding and sources for sidewalks, which is of course a trigger word for me? Is that going to open up new areas, or is it just going to be taking what we're already doing and incorporating it as part of the general?
Yes, incorporating that as part of our objectives. We have had a stronger presence in the safe routes to schools in partnership with both CDSA, but also with Marysville Joint to host events where we're providing education and literacy to the students of how to safely transit between home and school. And as you know, some of the areas in our community, they don't have safe routes currently. And so that's something that we also like layer on top of that and advocate for. So a lot of times our staff are out at these events where there's usually elementary school aged students and their families learning about safety and transit in relationship to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Through the chair.
Through the chair.
Yes, let's try that. So I know where we're going here.
Write that.
Yes. Thank you.
On the mental health access, what populations do you generally see the most of? Is it youth or homeless or?
Yeah, the main thing that was highlighted in the report through the community health assessment is the provider to resident ratio, which I think we talked about before is very high in our area, both in Yuba and Sutter counties. And so that's something that the group that's working on this just started meeting and setting the goals and objectives same kind of thing with the built communities. But I think that is an area that will need further concentration, is how do we attract quality providers to our area so that there's enough providers to meet the demand. And then also connecting people with the appropriate medical coverage that they need. So for the high-risk populations that oftentimes are eligible for Medi-Cal, making sure that they have that coverage available to them and are connected to the resources that we have that are currently existing. You know, I think what I heard in the community meeting that I attended, so we had the different community meetings in the districts, is that there's also a lack of awareness about the programs that exist today. So I think that that's really fundamental as we move forward and working through these objectives and goals, is making sure that the community is aware of what exists today. And then in addition to that, identifying where there's gaps.
And I think I understand you're doing some partnering with Peachtree Health.
Yes, we have some extensive partnering going on right now with Peachtree Health, including actually with all 3 FQHCs, mobile access hubs. So providing these services in a mobile way so that people don't have to come to a brick and mortar facility to receive services or learn about the services that are available. So we have quite a few things that we'll be bringing forward to you in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions? I have a question. How many HHS employees do we have? I don't think people understand the magnitude of the department there.
I'm going to look at John to confirm, but we usually have around 320 employees.
About 320 employees. Wow. I had experiences with a toothmobile coming to challenge. We found a couple of kids up there, or ran the teen center. You know, when you have an abscessed tooth or you can't see, it makes it difficult to learn, and that's what it helps the schools up there immensely. Just that toothmobile, and you have one now, and is there plans for more than one, or?
So the toothmobile is operated by Peachtree Clinic in collaboration with the school district. The portion that we provide through Health and Human Services is the oral health education and supplies. I don't know of any plans to expand the actual toothmobile, but part of what I was talking about with Supervisor Blazer was the mobile access vehicles, and there are plans to add dental vans so that those are mobile throughout different areas of the community, especially in that foothill area where there's a lack of access to those dental services for the rate for the population.
Yeah. So Kathy LeBlanc is involved with Challenge. When I was up there, she was pretty much Camptonville. And out of 4 years at the teen center, I only had 2 volunteers. You know, you're right. There's not enough people getting involved in there. And I don't think they understand the magnitude of what you have for services. And that would definitely be good for them to do it. But, you know, in this build communities, we got a biomass plant under, you know, it's on its way. It's like anything in California, it takes forever and a day. But, you know, the government, Yuba County, doesn't put businesses in. We make it easy for businesses to do business in Yuba County, and that works for us. But that's going to be a big draw up there. Current employment, you know. So, all right. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Thank you very much for that presentation, John. Really opened our eyes as to what you have to offer. Thank you. All right, public communication.
Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. If you are participating via Zoom and wish to comment, please use the raise hand function or *9 if participating on a phone. Please note, the board action can be taken on no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. And through the chair, I have one request to speak card and no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. Our first card is
Tony Farley.
Yeah. I'm Tony Farley from South Yuba City. Here to support the veterans from the Vietnam War who served for CIA Special Operative Division of the CIA during the Vietnam War. Thank you for his service. As to them, anybody served in uniform, your government, military, or first responder, thank you for your service. Thank the sheriff over there. Thank the sergeant. Thank all county staff, all heroes. Thank you, county administrator, county council, John Miskett, District 5, Andy Ventus, District 1, plus he's the ex-Marine, ex-law enforcement, Gary Redford, District 4, Seth Fuller, District 2 or 3, and down Florida, District 2. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Thank you for more. By the way, my YouTube channel is called Tony Farley Firebath on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any more cards? Okay. The public comment. County departments. Here comes the big one. Community Development Services, Yuba-Sutter Economic Development. Adopt a resolution approving the 2020 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy.
Morning, Mr. Chair and fellow board members. Mike Lee, CDSA Director. So Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy 2020-2025 is a 5-year economic planning strategy to help guide our region. It is prepared by the Yuba-Sutter EDC and after much stakeholder outreach. And one of the components included in that document is a list of proposed infrastructure projects within the 2 counties and the 4 cities. It also includes Caltrans and our special districts. Inclusion in that document is a requirement to receive funding from the federal government through EDA. Also required by the EDA is what's called an annual performance report update. And that's what we have before you today. I would like to point out that in the title of the resolution, I believe there's a typo. It states 2020 annual performance report update, and it should state 2022 annual performance update. And so that's my update or my report, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board? I have a question. In a lot of these performance categories, Yuba City. We're the 4th largest per capita growing county in the state. I would certainly like to see a modification of this report that actually separates Yuba County, because we have done more than most counties in the state as far as, and you know, it's nice to recognize Yuba City, but they really haven't done as much as we've done. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted you to present is our mere 800 employees are doing an outstanding job on attracting businesses, building, and they have to realize that everybody's part of that puzzle. Everybody's a piece of the puzzle in Yuba County. And I think sometimes we get forgotten in the shuffle.
If I could, through the chair, just to provide a little context to why it calls out Yuba City. So Yuba City Metropolitan Statistical Area. And so that's a term that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics uses to measure metropolitan areas. And we've explored whether or not Yuba County could be considered an independent metropolitan statistical area so that we could, be recognized independently of Yuba City. When we ran through that exercise with the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, this was several years back, I got turned off. There we go. All right. I guess I spoke to yeah, I got a special button over there to mute me. Anyways, when we ran through that exercise, it was very clear that the tie between Yuba City and Marysville and Yuba County and Sutter County, things like where people are housed versus where they work, and there was a lot of. It's an intertwined area to the point where the Bureau of Labor and Statistics will not separate the area. So when we go through exercises like this at a federal level, where we have to provide a report to a federal agency, in this case, the Economic Development Administration, we're kind of forced to be lumped in with one metropolitan statistical area, which in this case, they use the identifier Yuba City, which we're definitely a big part of, but I just wanted to make sure that overall that's why Yuba City gets highlighted and it doesn't say Yuba County separately.
Well, I appreciate that, but the fact of the matter is they do 8 low-income housing units and they got a headline. We do 149, and we're expanding faster than Sutter County ever thought of doing. We did 500 homes last year, or somewhere in that vicinity. They're nowhere close to that. And I understand they're in a floodplain, but I just would like to see the efforts of our staff and the changes that we've made that nobody else has done. Look at Yes to Yuba. That's not seen anywhere in the United States except here. So anyhow, that was my reason for pulling it. Okay. All right, I'll let you go. All right. Any part of the presentation that you're gonna?
Yeah, that concludes the presentation. So now if consider adoption of the resolution.
I so move.
Second. Right. Do we have any idea of how many we actually built?
How many what we actually built?
Low-income housing and single-family dwellings.
Your numbers were pretty. There was the 100. I think it's 141 unit on Cedar Lane affordable housing project.
Okay.
There are, I believe, 2 affordable housing projects down in the Wheatland area that are currently being pursued. We also have an affordable housing project down near Ross Ranch, down Plumas Lake area.
Yeah.
And then as far as the single family homes, 500 a year is a good round number.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, on the motion, consider the amendment, and the motion should include as amended if that's your intent.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
With amendment.
Yes. All right. Thank you. We have a motion and where's our second?
Don seconded.
Don. Okay, roll call vote.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Pure.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Unanimous, all passes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. County Departments, item 199, Development Services Award Contract number 2023-9210 to the apparent low, responsive, and responsible bidder. Are we talking about the same company?
Good morning, Board Chair and fellow supervisors. Sam Button, Assistant Director, Public Works. So in 2017, SB1 passed increasing gas tax revenues, allowing us to complete annual overlays such as this one. This current overlay includes 7.6 miles of roads, such as Arboga Road, Plumas Arboga Road, and Skyway Road, or Skyway Drive, to name some of them. Our estimate for the project was $3.95 million, and it included gas tax revenues, Measure D, or the resource depletion tax, and county service area 66 funds. So after we opened bids, we received 5. Lehman Construction out of Yuba City was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. at $3,066,686.43. And we recommend to the Board of Supervisors to award the contract to Lehman Construction. Any questions from the board?
Pretty close bids.
Yeah, so I'll actually read out some of them. The top three, Lehman Construction was $3,066,000 roughly. All American was $3.3 million, and then Knife River was 3.5, with the high bid of 4.2 to De Silva Gates. We're very happy that this came under estimate since COVID. Gosh, off the top of my head, I think this may be the only project that's been under our estimate. So very happy to take these dollars and use them on a future project. But no, Lehman Construction was about $275,000 lower than second.
All right, so we'll entertain a motion.
Bradford will move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the board? Any further questions from the board? Any further questions from the public? All right. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Item 224. County Administrator. Are you wearing a vest today?
So, yeah, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, County Administrator. So the item before you today, Marysville Joint Unified School District is, I'm not going to call it a crisis, but they're definitely calling attention to the fact that their student discipline and disruption in schools has tripled since the pandemic. And it's a cause for concern for the school district, and they wanted to raise awareness of that and raise awareness in the month of May during Mental Health Awareness Month. So they've put together a call to action, and they've reached out individually to the board members for individual board member support of this call to action, along with myself, Jennifer Vasquez, Sheriff Anderson, and so on, and other community leaders. Upon review of this call to action with County Council, due to the language that's in the call to action, specifically the language pledge their collective efforts to coordinate actions for mental health and wellness in our schools, it was advised that this item be brought before the Board of Supervisors for consideration, and really it should be, if the board so chooses, it should be the board itself that's signing on to the call to action and not individual board members. So with that, I'd entertain any questions the board has about the document. The document is attached to the staff report, and we'll go from there.
Any questions from the board? No?
Through the chair.
Yes.
So a call to action, how does that relate to actual enforcement by administrative of rules that are already in place? I'm just trying to get my head around this.
Right. I believe this is more of the school district calling attention to the issue that they're having in the schools, and asking for support from partnering entities as it becomes available. For example, you know, there's already a partnership that's evolved out at Lyndhurst High School with regards to mental health awareness and the wellness center that was propped up out there. And so it's similar things like that, where they just like to have partners in the community that are helping Marysville Joint Unified address the issues that are occurring in the schools.
Well, I've seen some cases where administrators are a little hesitant on enforcing rules that are already on the books. Cell phones, etc., unruliness. So it kind of gets back to the administration, and I guess we're supporting the effort to do that. I got that right?
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Any further questions from the board?
I just had a comment through the chair. I hope this tripling of problems doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I have triplets at Marysville High School.
Yeah.
So So if the board would like to support the call to action, my recommendation would be to have the board authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board the call to action pledge.
All right, I have questions to ask here. My question is, where are we in the state in relationship to literacy in our schools? It's my understanding from talking to Rick Teagarden and different individuals that different schools have different problems. Some are more problems than others, and if that's the case, the question is, as Don said, we have different results in different schools. Why don't we find the common rules that seem to work in the schools and apply those across the board and work within the system and the rules that they have now? We didn't have that problem back when they were number one in the nation, which was back in the 60s when I was in school. But, it's something that is attainable, but it requires special effort on the board, the school board, to apply those rules across. There should be no reason that we have literacy in one school and not all schools. And it just bothers me that if you can't teach them to read and write, if you can't keep their attention in the school, there's something wrong. Kids actually are naturally inquisitive, and having raised 5 of them, just when you figure out the one problem with one, they go sideways on you. But that's their job. Why don't we concentrate on the known, why the schools are there in the first place is to find a way to make life interesting for these kids. And because there's a reason they react. They're either not capable of keeping their attention, or they're too busy doing some other things. I honestly don't want us to try and provide different areas that they should be concentrating in when they can't concentrate on the ones that they're originally intended to do. So I can't support them going into mental health. It's like sex education in schools. It's like transitioning for children. That's driving me up a tree. So I can't support them doing something when they can't at least provide literacy, a good school for each kid.
The school district was aware of the meeting today, but I don't see a school representative. I'm not sure if there's a school representative on Zoom that can help address the question. But my understanding is that the school is recognizing the disruption in the classroom as a barrier to them being able to educate, and so that's why they see this as a call to action to address that issue, so that they can focus on educating.
I went to the same school they did. It's if you can't teach those kids, if you can't keep their interest sparked, perhaps you should look at the root cause, as they say, and why they're not doing that. And my question is, we have examples of schools that are extremely good schools. Why can't they all be that way? So on that note, I can't support this. You're trying to spread them too thin.
So, okay, if I could through the chair. So it really comes back to the full board on how the board wants to address the request from Marysville Joint Unified School District.
Well, if they could show up, and ask and answer the questions on why we have good schools and bad schools.
So your recommendation was to authorize Andy to sign, Andy isn't going to sign, so I authorize Andy to sign.
It is, so typically the chair signs on behalf of the board. The council, could there be an alternative to the chair signing on behalf of the board?
I don't think this board should really act unless the school district shows up. I mean, it's kind of like grants we have in, if you don't show up, you don't get grants. Did they answer the question?
Mr. Chairman, ultimately what was sent to each board member was a request that each board member sign on, and County Council reviewed that, and the language that was concerning that required it to be a collective action. And so what the administrator has brought before you today is for you either to approve the chairman signing on behalf of the entire board, or decline, at which point neither the chair nor the other members of the board would sign the document.
You know, again, the board's not here. The school district's not here. Why can't they answer the questions? I would think as a parent, I got involved every once in a while. But there was no real need to have as many school board meetings as they do. And we have problems with schools. Why can't they answer the questions of why they have good schools and bad schools?
If that was a motion from Supervisor Fuhrer, I will second.
Was it a motion?
Authorize Andy to sign at his discretion.
At the discretion of the board, I just want to, if I could, through the chair, we're going to need a little clarification on the motion.
So what is presented is that Andy would sign on behalf of the entire board as the chairman, like any other document normally would be done. So the request was that each member of the board sign separately, but because of the language, there were concerns that collective action of the board has to be voted on. So if the board approves signing this document, then as the chairman of the board, he would sign on behalf of the board.
My question again is, if it's so important, why isn't school board here? Okay, comes down to that.
Through the chair, I think all they're asking us to do is support what they're already doing or trying to do anyway. You'll see the list of people they've asked to support it, just all community, including Congress, state representatives, city,
I'm asking
county.
a specific question about the existing school system.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what they're asking us to do. They're asking us to help to support them to better help kids with mental illness and things like that. And it's not costing us any money. We're just saying, yes, we support the school district helping these students, so I don't know. I'd make a motion that we approve it.
I agree that we should vote on it, but I think the school board should do us the courtesy of answering some questions about why we're having the problems we're having. In certain schools, we're having those problems, and not in all the schools.
If I could, through the chair, that could be a follow-up item where we request a presentation from the superintendent from Marysville Joint Unified. But that would not be on today's agenda. It really, what was agendized today was this call to action document that the Marysville Joint Unified has prepared and sought signature from individual board members. And after review, it needs to be, if the board does support it, it needs to be as an entity, not as individuals.
Okay, well, I'm not going to support anything. It's not convenient enough for the board to show up. Marysville Joint Unified School District, please show up.
If I could, through the chair, council, is there a motion?
I made a motion.
Second that needs to be acted on?
So there was a motion by Supervisor Fuhrer, but that was to sign at the discretion, and then there was a follow-up motion which would currently be on the table by Supervisor Messick to support signing on behalf of the board, but no second on that motion as to yet.
I'll second that.
Oh.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez,
No.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
We're forcing Andy to sign something he doesn't want to sign. I vote yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
4-1, motion passes.
Thank you, board, for discussion on that item, and I will follow up with the superintendent of Marysville Joint Unified on a presentation on the status.
I would like them to come in and tell us why they're having the problems they're having. We're 45th in the nation. Why are we having problems like that?
Understood.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll give you that. All right, 224, county administrator considers, that was my favorite motion there. Okay. We'll try 215, Health and Human Services, adopt a resolution in support of the California Association of Counties, CSAC. Transparency, housing, outreach, mitigation, economic opportunities. Oh, I get warm and fuzzy just reading that stuff. Okay. All right.
Good morning again, Chair and members of the board. I'm Jennifer Vasquez, Health and Human Services Director. I'm before you today recommending the board adopt a resolution in support of the California State Association of Counties Comprehensive Plan to Address Homelessness, known as the CSAC at-Home Plan. A copy of the resolution and an outline of the plan were included in your board packet. However, I would like to highlight a few key components. Currently, the state lacks a comprehensive approach to addressing homelessness. The funding is misaligned and there is no clear source of ongoing funding. In addition, the processes to acquire funding are overly burdensome, lines of responsibility are blurred, and outcome expectations are unclear. An example of this is the many items that are continuously being presented to your board in order to apply for and accept the complex array of mismatched one-time grants available to counties, which often do not provide the continued funding necessary to operate programs. It's important to note that no other state social service programs are administered in this fashion. A little over a year ago, CSAC began collecting input from various stakeholders throughout the state and started developing the at-home plan, which contains 6 pillars to serve as the foundation for addressing the problems that I've just touched on. These pillars include accountability to establish clear responsibilities aligned with sustained funding. Accountability includes defining city and county roles for siting and supporting shelters, permanent supportive housing, encampment outreach, and encampment cleanup. Accountability incorporates a commitment to ongoing funding. Continuing to allocate one-time funding is neither enticing, sustainable, nor conducive to maintaining programs at the county level. The second pillar is transparency. Managing available data is necessary to improve accountability, transparency, and to support data-driven decision-making. There is currently no single computer system that supports an integrated case management approach for service providers. Data collection, extraction, and analysis is severely hindered by these computer system limitations. The third pillar is housing. Removing barriers to development is critical in order to increase and maintain housing units across the spectrum. There is a significant shortage of housing in California, especially affordable housing to support aged, disabled, and very low-income residents. Resources are needed to operate housing solutions, such as permanent supportive housing for individuals with complex needs. The fourth pillar is outreach. A well-trained workforce is necessary for robust engagement and rapid response to connect people with programs and housing. The fifth pillar is mitigation. Safety net programs need to be strengthened to prevent individuals from becoming homeless. The final pillar is economic opportunity, which focuses on employment, education, and self-sufficiency for those who are formerly homeless or at high risk of experiencing homeless, including justice-involved individuals, veterans, older adults, and former foster youth. I'm happy to collect any further input you may have or answer any questions.
Try and turn the mic
Through the
on.
chair. But, excuse me.
Okay. Any question?
So I rep Yuba County at CSAC, and when I first went through this, and this covers the bullet points, but it's a very detailed process they went through, and I think you said it took them about a year.
Yes.
It appears to be very nonpartisan, and it reflects a real frustration on all the counties at what's been going on. So they're trying to come up with a lot better plan. I haven't heard exactly what they're going to do and who they're going to approach once everybody has signed on to this. Is it going to legislators, or do you know anything beyond that?
Not right now. Right now we've just been asked to sign on as counties in support of the resolution. So the presentation that I went to from CSAC, that was kind of the process that they laid out for us right now.
Yeah, like I say, there seems to be just a general frustration of the government in general. A couple of them said, just stay out of our life, let us, and I think you even said that, just give me the money, let me decide how to use it.
Sure. Yes.
No, it seems to be a very thoughtful approach, though. Thank you.
Anything little sanity to Sacramento would be greatly appreciated, I think. All right. Any questions from the public on this matter? Okay. Bring it back to the board. Motion. Is that done? Make that
motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. A roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Unanimous, all passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, ordinances and public hearing.
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing, or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group.
Okay. Let's see, 213, Ag Commissioner. Hold public hearing, waive second reading, and adopt ordinance amending Chapter 7.42 of the Yuba County Ordinance relating to the cultivation of hemp.
Good morning, Chairman Vasquez, honorable board members, Stephen Shearer, Ag Commissioner. I'm here today for consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 7.2 of the County Ordinance Code prohibiting industrial hemp within the unincorporated area of Yuba County. This ordinance would prohibit growing industrial hemp in Yuba County permanently. Our previous moratorium expired in August of 2022. Originally, our moratorium on the cultivation of industrial hemp was put into place because state and federal regulations were not yet in place to regulate it. Since that time, the regulations have been finalized. However, there remain to be many concerns with the production of industrial hemp for local jurisdictions, public safety, nuisance complaints, workload, and land use issues. Many counties continue to expend large amounts of general fund revenue to administer their industrial hemp programs. Additionally, those counties are experiencing widespread violations within the program, and taking enforcement action is complicated and ineffective within the current regulations. Industrial hemp is not shown to be an economically viable crop, and interest in production has fallen statewide. My department has only received 2 inquiries about producing industrial hemp in Yuba County in the last 2 years, and neither of those inquiries were from local farming interests. Adopting the prohibition on industrial hemp will mitigate public safety, workload, and land use issues and potential general fund costs to administer the program. Thank you for your considerations, and at this point, I answer any questions you might have.
Did we open the public hearing? No. Open the public hearing, and any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. A roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Unanimous. Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, sir. Sheriff Coroner ordinance, hold public hearing, waive the first reading, and introduce ordinance for renewing chapter 2.15655. All right, we'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. Wendell Anderson, Yuba County Sheriff. And with me today, I have Sergeant Chad Watson. He's our SWAT team leader and also the coordinator for our military procurement and use. And the item that we have here before you today is actually required under Assembly Bill 481. And it's the request is that you adopt a policy or an ordinance as it relates to military use by the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. Assembly Bill 481 was enacted in September of 2021, and it requires that we hold this hearing, adopt an ordinance, and that the board has oversight over the procurement and use of military equipment, but also ask that you waive the first reading of this ordinance, as it is quite lengthy. You should all have copies of it, but 481 covers many things that are military use. They're defined as military use, but a lot that aren't. So our mobile command post, our ammunition is pretty encompassing. So we're here to answer any questions that you have, but we would ask that you consider adopting ordinance 2.155 as it relates to the Yuba County Sheriff's Department's policy 706.
All right. Any questions from the board for the sheriff? Any questions from the public?
You have to open the public hearing.
Public hearing, we'll waive the first reading. And does that include military earplugs and things like that? I'm just wondering.
Earplugs, it includes
down in this stuff.
Munitions, breaching devices, military vehicles, our mobile command posts. And I would also like to thank County Council. This was an effort. It was pretty ambiguous how the law was written. So it took a lot of work to combine all of these things. And as I said earlier, it includes a lot of items that you wouldn't normally think of as being military.
Well, that's our government at work. All right, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Did you open the public comment?
Huh?
I don't think they heard you open the public comment.
We opened the public hearing earlier.
Okay.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Unanimous. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, 178, Community Development Services Public Hearing. We'll open the public hearing and then Kevin. Long time no see.
Through the chair, Kevin Perkins, Community Development. This item before you is effectively a cleanup clarification item. A little bit of history on this. Back in February of 21, your board adopted a resolution that allowed community development to submit a grant to HCD for an audible alarm project that would put some alarms in the foothills that would notify residents if there was a fire or some other type of emergency. When we submitted the application to HCD, we asked for $500,000. That $500,000 was going to cover the planning side of it, figuring out what locations to put these alarms, different things of that nature, and then also to construct. We submitted our application to HCD. We got awarded the application, and once the application was awarded, we started talking through things with HCD, and they told us that we actually couldn't do both the planning and the construction of the project under the same application, that they had to be two separate applications. So before you, I am have a resolution that would allow us to do a planning grant that would look at the potential sites of having these alarms, work through the environmental, work through the maintenance, and work through, you know, the operations of who would be in charge of these audible alarms. So we're seeking $250,000, which is the max amount we can ask for in a planning grant through CDBG. And I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have about the grant and or project.
All right. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Close the public hearing and.
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Unanimous, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. 155, Community Development Services, public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. And, okay.
Good morning again to the board. Sam Bunton, Assistant Director of Public Works. This is an annual item for the Linda Street Lighting Maintenance District. This is step 1 out of 2. So today we're holding a public hearing and adopting a resolution determining and imposing assessments. At a follow-up board meeting, we'll be holding a public hearing and adopting a resolution adopting the budget. So a little background, Linda Street Lighting Maintenance District was formed in 1967 pursuant to the Improvement Act of 1911. The district imposes annual assessments on each parcel of real property within the district based on the estimated benefit to the parcel and a cumulative amount sufficient to cover the annual expenses of maintenance and operation. So Street and Highways Code requires lighting maintenance assessments to be levied pursuant to Chapter 6.1, and Government Code Section 54717 authorizes the Board of Supervisors to determine the cost of the service annually. The proposed assessment for fiscal year 23-24 is $12 per unit, which is the same as last fiscal year. There are approximately 4,000 units in the district, which assesses $12 per unit for a total revenue of $48,000 for the fiscal year 23-24. And the county uses these funds to maintain and operate the streetlights. And so today, the Department of Public Works recommends that the Board of Supervisors hold a public hearing and adopt the attached resolution determining and imposing assessments within the Linda Street Lighting Maintenance District for fiscal year 23-24. Any questions from the board?
All right. Any questions? Any questions from the public? All right. We'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
You have to close the public hearing on that one too.
Huh?
Do you have to
I
close
opened the public hearing.
I know. Do you have to close it?
Yeah, close public hearing. Okay.
I'll make
Boy,
a motion.
you guys are getting after me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion. Got a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Item 154. I assume you're up for that one. We'll open the public hearing. And go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks again. Sam Bunton, Assistant Director of Public Works. So very similar item, just a little tiny bit different. So this is a 3-step process, another annual item. This one is for the Gled Hill Landscaping and Lighting District. Last month on April 25th, the board approved a resolution adopting the engineer's report and declaring an intention to levy and collect assessments. Today is a public hearing to confirm diagram and assessments, and then at a follow-up board meeting, we'll be coming back for a public hearing to adopt the budget. The engineer's report, as shown in the assessment, will provide revenue needed to operate the district for fiscal year 23-24. There has been no change in the assessment rate from last year's rate. There are approximately 4,172 dwelling units that are assessed at $13.20 each for the total revenue of $55,070.40 for the fiscal year 23-24. The county uses these funds to maintain landscaping, repair recreational equipment, improve existing irrigation, install new irrigation, landscaping, and other miscellaneous items required to operate the district. So today, the Department of Public Works recommends that the Board of Supervisors hold a public hearing and adopt the attached resolution confirming the diagram and assessments within the Gled Hill Landscaping and Lighting District. Any questions from the board?
Okay, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for a motion. It's your district, isn't it?
I so move.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Community Development and Services Public Hearing. We're going to open the public hearing. You're up again, Kevin.
Through the chair, Kevin Perkins, Community Development. Before you are two proposed amendment or text amendments to the Plumas Lake specific plan. These will only affect Plumas Lake. They will not affect any other portion of the county. One was staff led and the other one was led by the public. So I'll jump into them right now. So the first one is regarding service stations and self-service fuel. That's the Plumas Lake specific plan was adopted in 1993, and that's what they called gas stations back then. It was service stations and self-service fuel stations. Effectively, over the last couple of years, the good news is we've had some commercial development in Plumas Lake. Bad news is it's only been gas stations, and the residents of Plumas Lake are not very happy about the number of gas stations in Plumas Lake, and they've reached out to planning staff coming to the front counter, calling on the phone, sending emails that they would like a public process on the approval of gas stations in Plumas Lake. Currently, there are 5 existing gas stations, 2 Stop and Shops, 1 Chevron, 1 AM/PM that was just finished, and there's a 76 station being built right now in the southern portion of Plumas Lake. What this change would do to the Plumas Lake specific plan would currently in all of the commercial zone properties in Plumas Lake, gas stations are allowed by right, which what that means is as long as you come in, a developer comes in with plans that met Plumas Lake specific plan design requirements and county development standards, they could build that gas station by right. They don't have to go through a process. What the public has been asking is for gas stations in the future to be allowed with a conditional use permit, which would require a public process. So this would go to our development review committee. It would be subject to environmental review, public noticing, and it would give the residents of Plumas Lake the ability to comment on or, address certain things related to gas stations. That's the first change. I'm here. I can answer any questions about that. The second change was staff-led, and this covers truck terminals and yards in our highway commercial zoning designation in the Plumas Lake specific plan. Effectively, truck terminals and yards are truck parking, and staff does not think that right now in the highway commercial zone, truck parking is allowed by right. So all you would have to do is come in, show that you met the standards, and the Plumas Lake specific plan doesn't have any standards for truck parking, which is somewhat problematic. And then they would basically find a spot and then start parking trucks without looking at screening, impacts to the roads, and other things that these truck parking facilities have impacts that elsewhere in the county, they go through a conditional use permit process. So staff believes that in the highway commercial zone, that truck parking should be moved from being allowed by right to being allowed with a conditional use permit. I know I kind of was quick on talking about both proposed changes, but I figured I'll give you an overview and answer any specific questions you guys might have about this.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from the board?
So I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I wanted to thank staff for their effort on this, and I think it's a great example of the county listening to our residents and being responsive to that, both reactive with respect to the gas stations and proactive with respect to the other change. And so I'm a strong supporter of both of these changes and would encourage the board to join me in supporting them.
I have a question. Can we do that for Edgewater too?
Yes, are you referring to the
Both the
gas
stations and the truck parking.
We could do that as part of our annual development update if you want to give me direction to look at that for Edgewater as well.
I would like to do that, really.
Okay, that's something that I will look at and bring back to the Planning Commission. One thing I did forget in my presentation was we did bring this before the Planning Commission, had a pretty lengthy discussion about it, and the Planning Commission voted 5-0 in support of recommending that your board adopt these changes to the Plumas Lake specific plan.
Okay, all right. All right, any further questions for the board? Any questions from the public? Back to the board for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
You need to close the public comment.
Huh?
You need to close public comment.
Second. I'm relaying information.
Close,
okay?
close public comment. All right. All right. Roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Missick.
Yes.
Unanimous, motion passes.
Go stay in the corner.
Thank you.
That's it. Don't shoot the messenger look, okay?
Okay. Board and staff member reports. Supervisor Blazer.
Are you ready?
Sure. Why not?
I'd like to compliment the lead Yuba-Sutter program, which has been in existence for as far as I can remember, maybe 20 years. And local people can sign up for that. It's a almost a year-long program to bring people up to speed to become future leaders in the community. They had their final presentation or fundraiser last Friday. It was a very nice dinner on D Street. They raised quite a bit of money, maybe $20,000. I don't know for sure, to go to youth programs. So anyway, congratulations.
Supervisor Fuhrer.
Lots of great charity dinners. There was also Sir Optimist dinner in the Orchard.
Didn't get rained out?
It did not get rained out. There was some golfing tournaments, charity fundraisers. So community coming together, doing good stuff. Can't go wrong with all of that. I will be absent for the next county board meeting, doing board business, investigating water and electrical failure mitigation in Puerto Rico. So looking forward to seeing what we can do to make sure those problems never affect us here.
Okay. All right. Supervisor Messing.
I have a whole list of stuff. So
good.
After our last meeting 2 weeks ago, I attended the lunch mob for the Chamber of Commerce. Don was there. I don't know who else was there anyway. That was on the 26th. On the 27th, I had a first 5 commission meeting. It's a great thing. If anybody doesn't know about it, ask me. On the 28th, business connection meeting breakfast, State of Yuba County, presented by Kevin Mallon. It was an excellent breakfast. On the 29th, I went to Pioneer Days and was a greeter at one end of the deal. Pioneer Days is a fundraiser for the church in Smartsville. Very good event. On the 1st, I went to a biomass energy technology meeting in Roseville to gather information for the Camptonville Community Center's biomass project. And Kathy LeBlanc also attended that meeting. On the 3rd, Government Affairs Committee at the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation. On the 4th, I went to the Fairway to Health dinner at Peachtree Golf Course. And on the 5th, I went to represented the county at the Tykert Equipment Rodeo, which was my favorite rodeo. It's kind of horsepower. I like driving. We got to run all the different equipment.
Cool.
Same day, we had the North Yuba Little League dinner in Loma Rica. It's a very good event, fundraiser. And yesterday, I attended the Yuba County pre-wildfire season roundtable in Camptonville, which was, ironically, we had the meeting in the rain, which is probably good and bad. Good that fire season is going to start later, but it's probably going to be a lot more fire fuel for the fires later in the season. And one day in between there, Seth and I attended the National Day of Prayer over in Yuba City. That's it.
Busy.
It's a wrap.
Busy young gentleman. Okay, I have a couple of things. Graffiti's running amok in Edgewater. I don't know whether it's an indication of border crossings but we've got Riverbank Road, the bridge just covered new stuff. We covered that up, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But it's back. And I'd like to see if we could put no truck parking on Goldfields Parkway. We have 2 semis, or a big box truck and a semi, that always like to park toward the end of the Goldfields Parkway, and they stick out from the bike lane. So I called the highway patrol last time, and that's pretty much it. Mr. Mallon. Oops.
What about Bradford? Remember on Zoom as
Oh,
well.
Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not sure I was quite as busy as Supervisor Messick, but if you want to check out the different meetings and community events I've been at, I tend to write a weekly blog post about that at supervisorbradford.org. And I also wanted to remind my fellow board members to please get registered for the upcoming Together We're Better golf tournament that Yuba-Sutter Calusa United Way is helping spearhead. So you can go to their website to register for that. Each of you can put together a foursome of your constituents, and we can compete against each other for charity. So it should be a good time. It's on June 9th.
Okay. That's it. All right. Well, almost forgot about Yuri. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. And Supervisor Bradford, thanks for the plug on the United Way golf tournament. So that the board members are aware, our former county administrator is, yes, president of the United Way and organizing that event. And
I've had a call.
Okay, if you haven't received a call, you'll probably receive a call. He's excited to have our board members engaged in that event.
Okay.
And I don't have anything to add.
Right. County Council?
Nothing from our office, Mr. Chair.
Natalie. Okay. I guess it's time for closed session as listed there. So we can stop reading all that stuff. We'll do that. We'll take a 5-minute break and then go to closed session.
I was just going to request that.
Recording stopped.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.